Building here on the waterfront. Thought that was a ferry. Maybe a party boat. Everybody on it's dancing. See them back there waving their arms around. Maybe it is a ferry. Everybody's happy here. How do you get a beer? Barbecue, beer. Let's see if it's off. It's out here. Nice weather we're having. Cool, not too cool though. Oh, I got a haircut. Feel more civilized. Got some shades too. We'll keep those off. Be more personal. Get past this noise.
Дорогие друзья, кто еще желает отправиться с нами в часовое морское путешествие на теплоходе Диана Тривия, подходите к нам, приобретайте билеты. У кого есть билеты, ожидайте, скоро уже начнется посадка. Уже можно проходить к нашему теплоходу, ожидать посадки через 15 минут. Через 15 минут мы уже будем готовиться к посадке. Отправляемся мы в шикарное морское вечернее путешествие на Крымский мост. С нами будет весело, с нами будет позитивно.
Little bouncy action going here. You gotta check this out. Back here is the bridge. Oh, I'm picking it up. Can't see what I'm looking at. The famous bridge that they built in 2 years. It's kind of hard to see because it's running that way. Haven't got a side view of it here. There's a lot of parks along the waterfront. I picked one close to my neighborhood. We'll find a better one next time. Get a better view of the bridge. I didn't want to get too far away. It's easy to do. This city's sprawling. It's really spread out. I should have done this as a walkie and done the front camera. But the lighting's kind of bad here. How's that? Try to find a place to sit. Oh, here we go. Let's see how this works. Oh, excuse me, that was rude. Oh, that's it. Yeah, come closer. Yeah, that'll work. Could be worse. Oh, man. Did they lose the bridge? Oh, there it is. I think. I got a reflection on my screen, and then I also got what my screen is showing, so I can't see what I'm doing. That's why I'm an amateur. Such a nice day. Well, what's been in the news? It's interesting. See where everything's spun. They're not gonna stop. It's just, you see the doom coming. They're not gonna be able to cover this stuff up forever, I think. No, they'll just make a distraction. Monkeypox! Yeah, that'll be it. And all these dupes will forget all about everything and go to that. CNN had a picture of a ship loading grain in Crimea. It looked like it was. There's a big grain elevator right over here. You can't see it from here, but before you get to this park, it's nothing but grain bins. They load out on barges. Might have been here. It was either here or Sevastopol, most likely. They said that Russia's stealing grain from Ukraine. They're loading up Ukrainian grain in Crimea. They put that in the headlines and put a big picture of a ship getting grain on it. What would Ukrainian grain be doing in Crimea? They just make up shit. It's like a mean little girls club. But people believe it. What can you do? Well, they're going forward with a lot of prosecutions, I guess. These war crimes, getting down to the bottom of it. And the bottom of it's some pretty big fish, really big fish. Back to NATO, the US, all these international organizations, and the UN included. All these trolls come on the blogs. Oh, Putin's in on it too. Putin's in the UN. Putin's in the HOW. You know, they come up with all this stuff and say, he's one of the New World Order guys too. Really? Well, then why are they fighting? Oh, it's all a trick. God, they're some idiots. They're gonna have the power for prosecutions. What's the U.S. gonna do? What's NATO gonna do? NATO's gonna break up. People are gonna start jumping off. All your Western European countries are just absolute puppets. They'll do anything they're told. Hopefully their people will grow a pair and rise up against them. They're gonna run them. They're gonna have to. They're gonna be out of food and out of money, out of business. They've sacrificed their own interest to obey NATO, and it's not in anybody's interest. All these sanctions, all this stuff they're doing, they're screwing themselves. They're not screwing Russia very much. Things are nice here. Haven't stolen anything from anybody. U.S. does that. They always have. Who took all the gold out of Ukraine? Now they're taking all the grain out. It's not being loaded up in ships in Crimea either. It's going out through Poland in trucks. I'll post a link down here. Some people have taken video of it. It's flooding into the EU. Who's getting the money for it? Not the Ukrainian people. Not the farmers. The oligarchs are sitting in Austria and Poland. Some of the more hoity-toity ones are in Switzerland. Billionaires. They're getting a cut of that 40 mil too, along with your Congress critters. Well, be interesting to see what happens next. Poland's opened their borders up with Ukraine pretty much, and they've also passed special laws in Ukraine to make Polish people eligible for very important elected positions. Yeah, maybe it's going to become a part of Poland, or Poland East. A lot of it was the little rump Ukraine. Well, that's all will be left to be a rump. Poland takes charge of western Ukraine. Lvov used to be a Polish city. I believe Germany and the Soviet Union divided Poland up back in the late 30s. Lvov might have been out of Poland before then. I don't really remember. I've been there, but I don't remember the history. It's too much to remember. I'll dig it up and post some links if you're interested in how it got to be in Ukraine. It was scabbed onto it like Crimea and the Donbass and Neo-Eurasianism. Looks like everything's going back to its original forms, which is good. The original forms were organic. Didn't have all this artificial nation building stuff the Soviet Union did. What they wound up with is like the Middle East. The British carved everything up, and the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire didn't have states really. They had millets. We'll put the Jews over here, we'll put the Orthodox Christians here, and here's some Catholics, and it's in a matrix of Islam. And if we have any trouble with anybody, we'll just have them fight between each other and we'll play the different ethnicities against each other. And the British carved it up to make sure that that was still functional. They didn't give everybody their own nation. They made sure there were people that didn't get along in the same nation. Like your Pashtun and Dari in Afghanistan. Like your Sunni and Shia in Iraq, etc., etc. That's why I'm a Eurasianist, or a Neo-Eurasianist, if you will. Everybody should have their own place and have some rights and some dignity. And stick together. If you're going to have an international organization, it should only be for protecting that, protecting traditions. I'm a little distracted. I've been reading these old Eurasianist books, and I got one new one. I've been going through it really slowly. There's a reason for that. I recommended it already, and it is good, but it's not for everybody. I'm going to have to put a cravat on my recommendation. It was Pyotr Volkov, The Final Kingdom, and it's got some great concepts in it and some interesting ideas. The only unfortunate thing is, I don't know, I'm going to ask him if it was translated or if he wrote it himself in English as a second language, or maybe some of it was machine translated. Whatever it is, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of places where you just got to stop and reread a paragraph 4 or 5 times. And I actually started to get my paper and pencil out and begin to diagram the freaking sentences to try to make sense of them, because it's written in, I wouldn't say it's, okay, I will say it, it's poorly written in English. It is. It's difficult to get the meaning out sometimes, not all the time. It doesn't read smooth anywhere. It reads dry, like a political science professor's tract. It doesn't have very much in the line of elegance or illustrations on anything, but it has great ideas. It has great concepts. They're just kind of like in a textbook, a really difficult, poorly written textbook. But I still recommend it, but it's not for everybody. I looked up at Amazon. It only had one review, and the guy was, I thought maybe a troll or an anti-Eurasianist, but he was just fuming. This is just gibberish. Well, it's not gibberish. It contains some real diamonds. It's just that you got to crawl down the volcanic shaft and chisel out a bunch of glass and try to find the diamonds. Then when you get them out, you have to chip all the little debris off of them, and they're not presented to you. What? Look at my diamonds that I've made for you. It's a shame too. A lot of the Eurasianist books are written like that. They're translations or written by people who don't don't speak English naturally or are very inelegant in it. But I'm still reading it. I'm getting them nuggets out, and I'll present them in an elegant fashion to you. I'll clean them all off and hand them to you and say, here's your diamonds that I found. I fixed them for you. No charge. I never really diagrammed any of the sentences, but I started to, and then it started dawning on me exactly what's meant. It's the unfortunate use of the wrong conjunction sometimes, and these paragraph length sentences with no commas, or sometimes too many commas. Yeah. Grammar is important. You got to get the form correct for people to get your ideas. You can't just present them any way you can, and we're weak on that in this century. Most people didn't get a classical education. I didn't get a classical education. I got the ass end of one. I got the very tail end of it. They were cleaning it all out when I went to school. I graduated in 1980. They had already taken Latin out. We still had some old teachers who knew how to teach. Still, I got my education from myself, from reading Western literature. That'll give you an education. The 5-foot shelf, the Western canon. Some of it's a real slog. Some of the stuff that's considered great literature is pretty difficult to struggle through, but you can still do it, and you get something out of it. I could say that in just about everything. There was some of it I didn't like at all. Freud, okay, I'll make an exception. Sigmund Freud, it's a slog, and it's difficult to struggle through it, and it's just disgusting. Like Psychoanalysis and the Interpretation of Dreams, I think was his seminal work. Yeah, I read that. And I found there's absolutely nothing in this of value. Nothing. It's just, the guy was a pervert. He was a sick little projectionist pervert freak. Well, you can understand what that stuff is and why it's so popular. But yeah, Freud. I'll make an exception for Freud. Freud is considered part of the Western conversation. And everything else, though, is great. Some of it was a joy and a pleasure to read. I zeroed in on Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. I read War and Peace twice. Actually, more than twice. Brothers Karamazov. Crime and Punishment, The Idiot. Oh, other Russian authors too. Always loved Russian authors. Turgenev. Gorky even has some value. Maxim Gorky. I had a Soviet translation of from the Soviet English department. It's published in 1952. And I could tell where they censored it and where they scabbed things in to make it line over the ideology. Gorky was a Christian. Well, he said he was. He's a Christian Bolshevik. He might not have been a Bolshevik. He's a Christian socialist. But it was kind of funny. I mean, it's just like red flags. You're reading along, and all of a sudden the word music kind of changes, and some ideology is inserted into it to correct it. Like, yes, farewell, my friend. If we meet again in another life, if there is such a thing, but of course we know there isn't. But if there was, there would be no different. There would be no class distinctions. Then we will, it just, you could just see it. It was inserted in there. It's funny. It still brings something to it, I guess. The mother, Mat. Tell you, a Bolshevik writer is very interesting, and you could see if you read me or we, your English translation will be we. It's about collectivism, the ultimate collectivist society. It was written in 1922 by Zamyatin. Evgeny, I think it's Evgeny Zamyatin. If you read that book, you'll see where Orwell got his ideas, and you'll see where Huxley got his. And they were asked about it too, and they both, oh, no, of course not. I never heard of it. Yeah, they're such ego heads. Yeah, you read Mui and you'll see where all that stuff came from. It was like the original futuristic dystopian novel. It was written in 1922 by a Bolshevik. It's like by 22, they were at the height of, you know, the execution factories and all that stuff, and he wrote Mui. Or We, W-E, We. That's just the title. One word, one two-letter word. That's the title. We, by I think it's Yevgeny Zamyatin. I know it's Zamyatin. We by Zamyatin. Look it up. You could probably get it for free online. It's not too long. The structure is very similar to 1984. The guy was a Bolshevik. Oh my God, what have I done? I must write a novel. Got some great comments for the video about the experiments and everything. Yeah, some real thinking people on this that are subscribers. I'm glad to see that. Do some more like that. Like I get back to my room. I'll show you my room when I get back, and then I'll do one about numbers. Some things that I've been mulling about numbers for years. Numbers are pretty logical, aren't they? There's something missing because there's little places and bits and pieces where they're not logical. And you can't explain it with the theory of relativity. That's just a pasted on decoration that has nothing to do with it, or quantum theory. They're coming up with nonsense to explain stuff that they can't explain. Well, you can't explain it. And I saw one of the most beautiful representations of that is found in a book, a novel. I've already recommended it a long time ago, but I'll do it again, by Georges Perec, called La Disparition. In the English translation, it's The Void, or not The Void, A Void. It's A Void. In French, the French title, there's no letter E. You can't write that in English without being a letter E, so they called it A Void. The trick of the book is there's no word contained in the entire novel that has the letter E in it. It's an artificial framework, an artificial stipulation, an artificial rule that Perec made for himself to write this novel that was common at the time, 1968, I think. The murder mystery, the butler did it, the rich people, and you know, all that. But in that book is contained the ideas of you live in a society with something missing, and you don't know what it is because you've never seen it. And seeking that something missing is what makes you what you are. And an artist working under such artificial constraints, or any artificial constraints, can make something absolutely fantastic by reaching and avoiding, you know, violating the constraints. Avoid has a strange word music in it because he has to consciously avoid using any word that has the letter E. But it's beautiful. It's like poetry. The prose reads. It's just strange and kind of beautiful at the same time. And it actually discusses that principle woven into the novel. It's one of the dialogues of one of the characters in it. There's something to that. There's something missing and we don't know what it is. Same thing with numbers. We'll talk about that later. That's right, Orsies. I don't know what those bleachers are for. They didn't know I was coming. What they put bleachers up for? They look like they're permanent. That's a kind of a fishing wharf, and the ferry docks there. Obviously, we just saw one dock, ferry or party boat, whatever it was. If it was a ferry, it was also a party boat because those people were dancing on the deck. I like this place. This is a happy place. It seems to be a lot more laid back. Sevastopol, I always thought was laid back, but everybody seems so dour compared to these people here. These people here are great. They get on the bus and they greet everybody and they're smiling. I've seen some of the most beautiful smiles here. In Sevastopol, you don't see that very much. You try to talk to somebody, and often they'll just scowl at you and turn around and walk off. I had that happen a lot when I ask questions, but then I'm a foreigner too. Haven't had any weird reactions here. People have more trouble understanding me. They don't get so many English tourists, I guess, here. I don't know. That or my teeth are getting worse and I can't talk Russian any better than I can English. You understand me, don't you? Well, I've been working for my keep, and I'm learning about the area. Gonna settle my legal problems from here if I can. I need to talk to an attorney sometime in the near future. But it's all good. Working on some internet projects. Try to coordinate with some people and put some kind of platform where I can get some income here where I don't have to go out of the country to get it. Yeah, something will work. Well, I'll see is when I get to the apartment, I'll make another one there. We'll talk about numbers and other things. As far as the Eurasianism books goes, I wish I could just clean some of them up and fix the writing and try to make it a little more elegant. But as it stands, I'll just glean things from it, take notes, and put them on videos for now. Because I don't have a university degree, nobody's going to want to pay me to do that, editing. Yeah. Education's really gone downhill. People don't even know the purpose of it anymore. The purpose of education isn't to memorize what they say are facts and ideologies and past historical declarations of university professors. It's to self-actualize. It's to be able to find the information you need and come up with your solution, which is going to be a little different than everybody else's, according to your own lights and your own experience and your own personality. Classical education, the trivium. Gotten so far away from that. They're not as far away from it here. I probably told the story before, but I helped a friend of mine grade papers back in the States when I go visit. She's kind of overwhelmed. She's advanced English in a charter school and had like 60 papers. So I'd take 30 of them, start going through them, and they are awful. The kids didn't have a clue as to what they were doing. They couldn't even put the form right. If they didn't put it in the correct form where it's easy to grade, you can't follow instructions. F. Sorry. But the ones that were in the correct form, read them. It was compare and contrast Sylvia Plath's Infant Sorrow, I think that's the title, with William Blake's Infant Sorrow. You're comparing a modern suicide feminist writing about infants as opposed to an 18th century good-natured Englishman. And these kids have been so propagandized that they thought, both of them said the same thing, having children is bad. They didn't catch the irony in Blake. The only ones that did, they all had something in common. There were some essays on that, compare and contrast, that I could have written, that I would have been proud to write. These are high school kids. And not only that, English is their second language. They all had names like Daria, Sasha, Ivan, Irina. They all had Russian and Ukrainian last names because they got their start in DT Sod and the first few forms of school with a little layout of grammar and logic, and then they're ready for rhetoric, and they could read a foreign language and come up with an understanding of very subtle humor, English humor no less, which is different than Russian, even in the 18th century. Anyway, we'll talk later. Uncle Billy signing out.